Hello, welcome to Ephemera Files by Tommy, and this is one of the videos in the series about making Mildred's Roses, which is the journal that I am currently creating. And I am using kits from Lindsay Zenor nevermorecreations17.com. This is part of her Marketplace Challenge, and these are the tag pages that came in the kit. And I knew I couldn't use all of them because I'm kind of focusing on roses, but these are useful in a lot of other places. And so I am going to show you 4 ways that I am altering some of these tags to work in my journal. So the first thing I did was I took my ruler, and I have several different rulers. This one is the one that works the best for this particular project that I'm doing because it has some sharp edges and it lays really flat on the table. I have another ruler that has like a cork backing on it. It doesn't lay flat. My other rulers have rounded edges. This one's sharp. Matter of fact, I've cut myself on it a couple of times. And so the way that I get these tags down to looking like this using the ruler, I should have saved a sheet, but this is how I do it. I line it up, and it's a good idea to have something underneath it if you have a glass tabletop, because sometimes things will slide. I love my glass tabletop, but things slide. Cleans up so easy, gives me a nice hard surface. I can use it as a light box by putting a light underneath the glass. But I just simply line up where I want it to be separated on my tags. Now, some of them I will leave the bottom on this part, like I did those two. Some of them I will leave the top part like that. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Now let me show you what I did with some of the tags to alter them. Because my computer, when it printed out these tags, if you can see it, I think that it was set on fill the page, and so it kind of stretched out the button on there, and the picture is a little stretched that way. And so it looks a little odd, at least to me. So I wanted to figure out a way to cover up the part that I didn't like, which was the stretched part. And I don't always like, the sayings don't always go with what I want to work with. And so these will also help cover that up as well. Okay, so the first way that I wanted to show you is a tiny pocket. And I'll hold that right up there. Can you see that? It's got a little pocket that has a little piece of paper, and I made it out of the tag. This was one that I didn't like what the saying was. And so it's very simple to create. I used this line right here at the bottom of the picture as my folding guide. And I get my folder out and I grab my glue. Now, when I'm making a pocket by folding a paper, I know that the folding kind of weakens that area right there. So I will, first I will get the glue globby off the tip. So I will glue the side, and then I'll run a bead across the bottom because I feel like that helps strengthen where that paper got weakened by being folded. I don't know if that's scientifically what happens, but it works in my brain and it makes me feel better. And so I'll hold that down for just a short time. All right, and now it's a pocket. It's a boring pocket though. So let's take care of the boring, and I am going to just borrow this real quick. from this other pocket that, or tag I'm going to show you. This brush, I've already got some of the antique linen on there, but I think I need a little more. I didn't expect to use this with this particular one, but now these tags that I'm showing you how to make right now will probably not go into the journal that I'm currently making because they kind of don't go with the theme, because we are talking about Mildred's roses, and this one's not a rose, but I really like it. And if I'd go through, and I've never done this, if I go through and do like a mass making, and I think that's what Tina at Shabby Dabby Doo Dah calls it, is just a mass making, then some things I would have on hand already. And that seems to be one of my sticking points when I am creating, is that I make every single item to go with the journal. And I could actually make some basic things like this and not have to worry about that. Now, we've done the, where am I putting that? We've done the folding, we've done the edging, and then the next thing I want to do is, I like to put little words down here, and I love these quote books and word books from Tim Holtz. And I really like this one right here. And I'm wondering, should I do that in the black? I think I may grab the black one instead. These quote collections, they have all the same quotes, one set in black and one in white in each of the books. So you can choose. Now, this is going to be way too long, just like this one was way too long. So I'm going to real quickly grab my little scissors, and I'm going to find the best place to do it. And what you need to do is look in your head. If you want to use grammar rules, then cut between phrases. Sometimes I want certain words to remain together. But this one's very simple. And it says, "There is beauty in simplicity." And I think that that's very fitting on this little tag. And there's that tag. It's done, and you can have your little pocket right here. It's very tight right now. There we go. Now that won't stay in there. That wouldn't be what I would put in there, but I'm just showing you that it's a pocket. And so there is that one. There is one tag. Let's do this one next. For this one, I decided to, number one, I wasn't fond of the flower that was underneath, and or the coloring or something. I don't know. It may just be one that I picked randomly that wasn't going to go in this journal. So I first take my tag. It says "Once Upon a Time." I actually do really like that, and so I may do my extra stuff up here. And this is what I did to it. I antiqued it after putting a layer of crinkled tissue paper on it, and then I embossed, double embossed. I've got the copper tinsel, and then the silver tinsel is a dragonfly right there. So this is what we're working on this time. I need a glue stick and my crinkled, wrinkled tissue paper. And these things that I'm showing you today, you can do with other things as well. You don't have to just use it for tags. Okay, I use glue stick because I like to do this dry decoupage, and I will link to that in the information below. And I simply put that on there, and I try not to smooth it too much. until I've got it on the tissue paper. And then I have a squeegee over here, but you can use a credit card or a gift card or a playing card or anything that has a stiff but slightly flexible edge. And that will help make sure that all of that glue has captured the paper. Then, when I'm trimming tissue papers, I like to take my water brush and I just go along where I want the tissue to be torn. And I do that. And I've done this on floral tissue papers. I've done this on napkins. And I like the little edge that it leaves. And I also like that I don't have to fussy cut, because I can just go around. That was so much quicker than me trying to cut all that off, believe it or not. All right, so right now, this is what we have, is a tag with a little layer of tissue over it and some slight wrinkles that I don't know if my camera is going to pick up right now. So now we're going to pull this out again, and this is what I did this morning. I went through and made labels for all of my inks so that I could see what color it was without having to pull every one of them off the shelf. So this, I just brush over the entire tag. If you use a darker color, it really picks up those wrinkles a little bit better. This gives me just enough texture for this particular tag. Can you see that? Now that I've got the ink on there, it picks up a little bit more of the wrinkles. So I have this stamp that has this little row of butterflies flying up, and I'm not going to do the whole stamp on there because that would cover the whole paper. I am just going to do this little, I'm going to kind of let them go flying across the page like that. So I will put that on the stamp block and press down on my tabletop to make sure it's good and adhered. And then I get my Distress Embossing ink out. And I am not going to use the whole stamp, so maybe I need to just focus on getting the part that I am going to use on there. You know, I'm going to do the whole thing just in case. I'll get my paper out because the stamp will be hanging over and I don't want to get embossing ink all over my desk. Most of the time with stamp pads, ink pads, I will take it to the stamp, but on this case, this is a little bit more spongy. It's the ink holder part, this foam, is just a little different, and it does. I just do it this way just to make sure that I've got it on there. Now I am going to straighten out my tag a little bit because it's curving in a funny way. All right, and I think that I want it to go like this, right there. And so I'll push down, make sure that I've got contact from the stamp to the paper all along the route that I want it to go. And I can set that to the side. Now, I cannot see that. With all that I've already done to this particular little tag, I really cannot see where the ink is. So on the original, as I showed you earlier, I used copper and silver. And you see the dragonfly and the silver and the copper underneath. On this one, Since they are butterflies, I think I'd like to have a little bit of a different effect. So these are my other embossing powders. I do not have a huge collection. I don't think I want to use gold. That's clear. So do I want bridal tinsel or do I want angel wings gold? I think I want to go with the bridal tinsel. It's just a little bit more sparkly. And I have a destination for this tag already in mind. I am going to be doing a fairy journal. And so I think that the sparkle will go nicely. Now, be very generous with this because you can pour what doesn't stick back into your jar. So it's not like you're wasting it by pouring that much out. Okay, and I tap, 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 tap a few times just to make sure that I don't have extra sparkle laying around. Now, I feel like I didn't get enough of it adhered. Right, that looks better. I can see the butterflies now. Okay, so I am going to put you on pause while I go back and go and emboss this. Okay, it's got a nice little sparkle to it, but I can't tell that they're butterflies. So I'm going to have to pick a different color. Okay, this is very pretty, but it does not show up well. So that makes me a little leery of the angel wings gold. So I think I'm just going to go with the silver on this one. So I'm going to re-ink my stamp. And once again, I'm going to put this on there. And since you really can't see anything from the first time, I am not going to worry about, whoops, you don't go on there. I'm not going to worry about lining it up. I can just do this. Okay, so put that up. And now, let's do the silver. Once again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to liberally pour on this silver embossing powder. And look, it already looks much better. So I'm going to go over here again and I'm going to emboss this and I'll be right back. I like that. That'll go very well in the glittery fairy journal. And this says Once Upon a Time down here. And I am going to cover up the little strange button that my printer is just weird sometimes. And add this little silver butterfly over the bottom, or over the button that is down there at the bottom, without covering up any of the words that say Once Upon a Time. I'll just kind of dip that in there. See that? Okay, reminder to self. Grab tweezers to hold your paper when you're doing the heat gun. That hurt. But there is that little finished tag with all the glittery butterflies. I've covered up the wonky button and I think it looks really nice. All right, next we have this little ticket where I've just simply covered it up. Just covered up the words with some washi, some lace, a Tim Holtz phrase, and a button with some dangles on the back. This one is, it would be the simplest if I didn't have all the extra things on it, just to cover it up, just to cover up that word. And so, in order to do this one, I chose this tag. I think that's a wisteria, but I'm not sure. But it says Vintage Memories, and myself, I probably wouldn't ever use that phrase. But it doesn't mean that it's not a beautiful card. So, the first thing that we're going to do is put the washi tape down. Now, I like to have a torn edge on my washi. Unless I'm cutting it off straight at the side, I want the torn edge. And I just put the washi down over the phrase. And then I'm going to wrap this washi around the back. So I'm going to give myself another torn edge. That's just for some continuity between the front and the back. I have still got embossing powder everywhere. Glitter for days, probably. And already it's covered up. It still looks good, but I want to finish it off. So I am going to take this piece of lace that is a little too big, but I think that I can cut that into 2 pieces and use them together. The 2 bits. Yep, I'm going to do it just like that. I'll get my Fabri-Tac out again. And I'm not going to worry about it showing through because it won't by the time I get a phrase on there and the button sewn on. And it's on top of the washi, which for some reason makes a difference. I don't know why, it just does. Okay, I love these tweezers. I use them all the time. Let's see. I think I'm going to go up here because I know my button's going to be over there on that side. There we go. Okay, and so there's the lace. Now, I've got some of my binding thread that I will be using to make my journal. So even though this isn't going to go in this journal, although it might, I don't know, it's kind of pretty. I am going to use that thread because it goes well with the washi and with the picture. You don't have to use Tim Holtz. You can just do whatever you want. Let's see. And I think that that might, let's see, I can put that across there, just like that. It goes exactly the length of the card. And then I can put the button down here in this corner since we've already covered up the words. I don't have to put the button on there. I just like the dangle on the back with the little seed beads. So, let me get my needle here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is put my button where I want it to be, and then I'm going to take and poke holes so I've got it marked. Makes it easier for the threading. All right, so there's my 4 holes, because this one is a 4 hole. This one was only a 2 hole. And when I sew the button on, I want to make sure that my threads are going to end up on the back after I go through all the holes. And there are lots of tricks for doing that. I don't have any tricks. It's just whatever I think I'm doing at the moment, which isn't always the best thing, probably. There we go. Got that threaded. So I am first going to come up through the back so that I know that I have one of the tails on the back. Whew. Sometimes you got to get the big tools out just to get things done. All right, so I've got that. And then I'm going to go across, pull that through with the pliers. If I used regular thread or embossing, or not embossing, embroidery thread or something like that, it probably would not have been a struggle. So there's my button sewn on. And now I'm going to tie this nice and tight. So like when you do a shoestring, do your first crossover and then go back and just bring that thread through again. I was told it was called a surgeon's knot, but other people have told me other names for it. I'm not really concerned with what it might be called at this stage. I just want to make sure that my button is on there tight. Now I have this We Are Memory Keepers. I'm not sure what it's called. It's some kind of a tool, and it picks up things. Now it doesn't hold on to them for very long, obviously, since I just threw 3 beads around. I needed not to come out of there with 7 beads on it. But I know that one's not going to work. But I can go through here and I can pick up beads to put on there. I have an overabundance of blue beads, so most of what I pick out sometimes ends up being blue beads. And it really doesn't matter to me what color they are, except for I don't want a clashing blue to that. If I have a blue come out that's not a clashing one, I'll use it. Some of my beads in here have 2 holes and they don't work. Like 3 of those are 2-hole beads that I just pulled out. Okay, there's another green one and a purple one. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's good. This comes in really handy for when you're doing little tiny like sequins and stuff like that. Sometimes to get random beads, I will just take my pokey tool and scoop through the whole thing, and sometimes 1 or 2 beads come on. And it's a good way if you want a random look. I only went semi-random. I threw some of the fish back. So I'm going to put 3 beads on one of the strings. If I can squish my end down. And sometimes I have to throw a bead back because the hole's just too small for what I'm working with. I wish that I knew a better way to work with these. I love seed beads, but they are so hard to string sometimes, at least for me. If you have any tips or tricks for the seed beads, please share them with me. Need all the help I can get. I think that one's going to have to go back. I'm just going to have to grab another bead. Let's see, I'll just do it this way. That hole is much bigger, it'll be much easier. Okay, I have 3 on there. Once again, I'm going to tie that surgeon's knot. Because that'll make the knot fat enough that the beads will definitely not fall off. I left my string a little short on that end, so I had to do some trickiness. And see, there's that side. This string's longer, should be a little easier. Tie that surgeon's knot. Now we'll trim the ends off. And there is the second altered tag. For the last set that I'm going to show you, these are for the papers that when you tar them, or when you cut them, whichever you did, the ones that still have the long piece on top, like this, you can use different punches in order to make a fancy tag top. For this one, I used a tab punch, which I got for Christmas right here. You do 3 different size tags. It doesn't have a name on it, so I don't know what brand it is. But that's what I did this one with. These two I used okay. For these two, let's see, let me do it this way. For these two, I used these two fancy corner punches from the Paper Studio. This one went with this one, and I will caution you, when using fancy corner tabs, you want to be careful because it doesn't always align the same after you cut the first side. I had to go back through and kind of even it up, and it's still not completely even, but I'm not worried about it. It's just something that you need to know. And this one worked fine. This one just punched on both sides, and then I took a hole punch and punched the hole in the middle for the tag. This one, I used one of my, I don't know what that's called. It's a scrolly type thing. And this is from Paper Studio. And I just, on the back side, inserted it to where it was straight, cut my little fancy, and put a little hole there. So I'm going to show you how to make those real quick. The last two. Oh, there's my other needle. Well, okay. I'm going to show you how to do these two. Right here. This one's the corner punch. So all I do, I just punch. I make sure that I've got it in there straight. Punch. And then I do the same thing on the other side, except for I flip it over so that I do get the same punch. Because sometimes just the slightest variation will make a difference. So there's that tab. And then I'll just take my little, let's see, what is this? I think this is a 1/8 inch punch. And I keep coming off screen. I apologize for that. And make my little hole. And there's another tag. Then, for this one, the way I use this, thinking it's a quote box or something like that. Can you see on the bottom? You can see there's all kinds of different places you can line up with. I went with centering it and lining it up just to where the corners do not go into the corners again, okay? So, and with the lines and things inside, you can get it pretty straight. I hold it to make sure. Now you can go all the way up here if you want to, that's fine. It'll just be a shorter space at the top. Just trying to show you a new way to use a tool that you may have. Oops. Oh my goodness, this one's not turning out well. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, punch it. There we go. And it makes that nice little scalloped edge. I go back once again, lining it up with the dip and punch. And there's that tag. And so there, I have shared with you 4 ways that I am using the tags that are in this kit, partly because my computer didn't print correctly, and you know what, that happens sometimes, and then you just work with what you've got. I've made some really nice background pages and stuff from completely messed up prints before, so don't feel like you have to throw it away. Oh, heaven forbid, my husband laughs. Heaven forbid you would throw something away. So these are the things that we made today. The little tiny pocket. And I can actually switch this over to here just so you can see it. Little tiny pocket. The dry decoupage and embossing. Let's see. With here with the sparkly butterflies and the dragonfly. We did the washi ribbon lace and washi lace and button tags with the dangles at the bottom. And we made some fancy tags using our regular punches. All right, thank you for joining me today. I'm having fun experimenting with how to make the tags and stuff with this kit, because this kit that Lindsay has shared with us, it's a setting of kits. It's kind of stretching me trying to figure out how to use them, especially in this small book, because it's a small book. These are 4 of the tags that I have pulled out to use in this book. I haven't decided which of these techniques I will use yet. I think this one's going to be a tiny pocket though. I think that looks good. The others, if I folded them, you'd lose part of the picture. So I will share a picture at the end of this video of these 4 finished tags. I thank you for joining me today and for putting up with my fumbling for words. And I just want to remind you to be kind, always. Bye.